the rare elephant out of the room.
Yeah.
Right?
Nobody knows what you mean, though.
Yeah. There's an elephant, and he's not in the room.
He's not in the room,
Yeah.
But nobody can see the room at the moment.
Right.
So
Dan's not here yet.
An elephant stuck in traffic is a funny visual.
It's a hippo not in the room.
Behind the wheel, like, come on, honking his horn.
His entire large, I'm picturing Dan's convertible now, and I've got just a giant elephant sitting out of the convertible, just like, what the hell? He can see more than the rest because he's an elephant. So he's kind of sharing with other cars. Like, there's a fire up there.
He has a height advantage, is what you're saying? Yeah.
he's pointing with his trunk to let him know where the traffic
Two
is coming
trunks in
from.
that car, huh?
He's actually, since he's on the exchange, he's taking his trunk, dipping it into water, and trying to help by putting the fire out.
See, you have him as helpful, as like courteous to the other drivers around him. I have him as just honking his horn hard.
Rage.
He's like, come on.
Yes, rage.
I thought Dan only had like a 2-mile commute. Like, isn't he very close?
Yeah, but I would say this. I'm assuming he takes that causeway every single day, and if there's a worse place for gridlock and an accident, if there's a worse place in the causeway, I am not aware of that place.
I've watched Bad Boys 2, and I can concur with Stugotz. That place is terrible. Cops power sliding in a Ferrari and then opening fire on masses of people.
Well, plus you can't get off. Unless you live on Star Island, Fisher Island, you can't get off. The road's over when it's over.
Well, I've seen the Rick Ross hustling video. You can get off the causeway. You just have to jump.
You watch a lot we videos that have the causeway in it.
I do. I love the causeway.
Apparently, there were fire trucks heading that way. So, in all honesty, I hope everything's okay. I thought we should get out there with that.
But he could, in theory,
glad you got out there.
Walk here and still get here in time.
Absolutely.
Right?
Just
He's going to leave his
car.
convertible just on the causeway? Like, I don't think you can.
I mean, he can get another one.
That's true.
I'm thinking Dan could get here quicker walking every day than I get here driving.
We should do that one day.
Dan
We should.
Dan could actually.
You have Dan walking, huh?
Dan could actually pay one of us to walk to the causeway to get in his car while he walks back.
It's a great
He makes
idea.
a show.
We should try that.
Fuentes, go get Dan's car.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, we're still going.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a nice, natural, like.
It felt like it.
Yeah. Well, we can come up with a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Stugotz, I don't know if you saw the news.
What news?
Delta Airlines
Yes.
is going to start serving Shake Shack burgers.
That's amazing.
On flights only out of Boston, though.
Caveat.
I might start connecting through Boston. I mean, how about that?
No French fries, though. Burger, chips.
Why no fries?
It's difficult. I mean, fries don't travel well.
Yeah. You know, fries, you got to get them.
Fair.
They got to get fresh. If you don't get them fresh, then
They get even worse as they get higher in the air.
Do you guys know about, I'm surprised Billy hasn't brought this up on the show, Shake Shack is sort of taking a shot at Chick-fil-A and offering on Sundays only, because Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays, their chicken sandwich, which is free of antibiotics, apparently they say so, and Chick-fil-A's is not. And they're giving away one sandwich free every Sunday if you buy through the app and spend at least $10.
It's a heady play.
I did it last week, classic vegan meal.
I love the idea that Shake Shack, for Chick-fil-A for years, their marketing slogan has been like, eat more chicken and the cows and stuff. And Shake Shack HQ is like, enough of this bullshit. We strike back on their biggest vulnerability, Sundays.
Wait, so why through just Boston? That's it? That's the only airport? Delta has a deal with Shake Shack, but it's only through Boston?
Yeah, so typically whenever they launch these type of programs, they pick a market that's not quite as big. You know, like why not out of JFK or LaGuardia? Well, they didn't want to go big. They want to take a nice small podunk market first.
Right.
You know.
I mean, Boston is not a small market.
It's a small market compared to New York.
Right.
Come on now.
So it's a test market is what you're saying, a test case.
Provincial, you know.
But that's good. We should all be excited, like baby steps.
Well,
it takes one city to have it work out well, and then suddenly we all have Shake Shack on our planes.
But also, if it doesn't work out, we all know who to blame.
Boston.
Speaking of Boston,
Can't wait to go to Boston.
I saw a license plate this morning, and it said, or yesterday rather, it said Duncan, and it was from New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. And Anthony asked, do you think he's a basketball? And I just stopped him right there. I was like, no, he's just from New England. They love Dunkin' Donuts up there.
You didn't just show him a picture of Ben Affleck?
No, I didn't. I think he didn't know it was all of New England. I think he thought it was just Boston that was obsessed with Duncan.
Yeah, I think I'll go to Boston. I think I'll start a new life. I think I'll start it over where nobody knows my name.
That's a song.
Boston by Augustana. You guys remember that one? 2004?
Wrap it up.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for war, man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man, so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
You know, one of the rare things that happens in sports is when someone gets either like a technical foul or a yellow card or something,
Right.
and the game hasn't even started. We're like, the refs are like, you know what? I'm not having this. So, Jeremy.
Wow.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes, high sticking.
Yeah.
Why? He's paying a penalty.
Now he's paying too.
Oh, it's for the song,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not for the costume.
It's not for the costume. It's for what you
Augustana.
Get
You
outta
don't
here.
remember that song?
No, I don't.
It was
Get
one of the
outta-
biggest. Think I'll go to Boston. No,
Great
nobody.
song.
Yeah.
Great song.
No, it's not.
It's a great song.
is
It's
not.
on my Apple Music. I guarantee
Thank you, Izzy.
It is not a great song.
It's a great song.
I'll give you a good song. It's not a great song. 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Not a lot of piano-driven pop rock like
If
that
you're
anymore.
watching on YouTube, on Peacock, or wherever on the DraftKings network, yes, he is dressed like a metal stovepipe. Mm-hmm. What are you?
He's the Tin Man.
He's the Tin Man. What are you?
Quick, off the top of your head, what was the Tin Man missing?
A hort.
Courage. Oh, no, that was the lion.
He's missing hort.
I always just think of oil. Oh, he was missing oil.
He was
Right,
missing
he's
oil,
tin.
too.
Yes.
He was missing oil. He was missing two things. He was missing two things. Everyone else is just one. Like the lion, you got a charmed life. All you're missing is courage. Everything else is there. Cool. Scarecrow, you don't have any brains. You know what? You're not missing anything. I wish I didn't have brains. I wish I was just an idiot.
I'm
walking
surprised
through
you
life.
don't do a lion impression. The cowardly lion impression.
Oh, heavens to Murgatroyd. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen Wizard of Oz.
My wife could not be more excited for Wicked, and I'm
Really?
kind of indifferent.
My wife is going with my daughter on Friday.
Same.
Yeah.
My wife's going with your daughter and your wife.
Can I ask, is Wicked, I know it's a Broadway musical. It's been adapted into a movie. Mm-hmm. I've been fascinated by this story, though I don't know it, for a long time. The idea of like, hey, what if you told The Wizard of Oz from the perspective of one of the witches, right? That's the premise. My big question is it a Grease musical, meaning, hey, we act and every once in a while we have a song? Or is it a Hamilton musical where they just won't shut the hell up singing every little bit of dialogue?
What's the problem if they do it that way?
I'm not going to even give it, not even a whirl on Max or on Peacock or anything.
If
So
it's all
you'd-
singing,
If it's all singing,
Yeah.
you can keep it.
I'm
You'd
with
rather
Embiid.
you'd rather just a little bit of dialogue and then randomly break out into song, or and not have song throughout the entire thing.
Well, I mean, look, if it was my choice, there would be no singing at all. But I realize it's a musical. So my acceptable threshold of musical is Grease. It's a movie, and then every once in a while, go Grease, lightning, da da da. And you know what? Song's catchy. I'll live with it. But you're not going to Hamilton me where every single thing we do is a song. And Izzy, why don't you tell me your opinion of the matter? Da, 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 da.
I actually don't have to fake it. I know a lot of the words to Hamilton if you asked.
can you sing the entire show today? I mean,
Oh, see, you know what? That's a grid of death. We should have that as a grid of death punishment.
For the audience.
You've got to sing. You gotta sing every bit of dialogue.
We did that, but we ended up using it on a mystery crate because it was easier than. Honestly, I think we did the Tin Man too. I don't know.
We're in reruns?
I'm pretty sure someone dressed as a Tin Man already. It
Oral
may have
history.
even been Jeremy. Like this may just be
Wow.
something he likes to do.
Might also have been Dan just for fun.
Jeremy is at that point too, right? Where I think he dresses up just for fun too.
Fully convinced of it.
No doubt, yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy, like 20 years from now, he's going to have the biggest podcast in all the land. Just dressing up, sitting in the big chair.
Sitting in gridlock.
Talking about UCLA, sitting in gridlock. honking his horn.
I'm surprised Dan didn't have the helicopter take him out of the car and fly him to the studios here.
Again,
Yes.
I don't know how big of a helicopter you'd need, though. Or would it be like Operation Dumbo Drop where they just hold him beneath?
What are you doing?
That was such a good movie, Operation Double. I mean, it wasn't. But
Come
it
on,
was-
Billy.
It was a great movie.
Why?
Like the
How?
idea of we're gonna drop elephants out of this airplane is awesome.
Was it an airplane or was it a
Yeah,
helicopter? Oh.
no, it was like I thought that Operation Dumbo Drop. They had like the giant like cargo planes, and they like pushed them out with,
the ramp.
parachutes.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I've always been interested by the idea of like a plane's back, like the butt of the plane just opening up and then everybody just jumps out of it. Like I'll never find myself in that scenario, but I see lots of movies in which that scenario occurs, so it seems more common than it is.
Billy, I've never skydived. I don't think I'm ever going to skydive. But if I were to, it would have to be from the back of a big plane.
And
with
you'd have to run and jump out.
Yup, with the ramp.
Dennis
opening up.
Leary was in that movie?
Hell yeah, he
Yeah.
was.
What a cast.
Yes.
I don't think that you can. I don't think that you can solo parachute anymore unless you have like some sort of certification. I think every time you go,
You got to be strapped to someone.
I think you're strapped
Yeah.
to someone now.
Then I got to be strapped to someone. We got to run together. And then
Unless you
jump
do
off.
like a class or something. I'm speaking. You know, like when we did the skydiving here for the show, I think it was like a Red Bull thing or something. I don't even remember. A couple years ago, I was like dangerously close, out of character, to saying, you know what, I'll do it.
Wow.
Because I'm never going to do it. I think Tony ended up doing it and someone else. Who
Yeah.
else did it, or was it just him?
Witty?
I
Yeah,
think
Whitty
it was
did it,
Whitty,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I vaguely
Yes.
remember
I just
that.
remember Tony nestling his head up against the guy's shoulder right before. That's
Yeah.
all I remember. From
And then I think they did like another activation where it was like helicopters that were doing flips or something like that. And I don't think the video ever saw the light of day. So it was just
Helicopters
like
doing
for
flips?
funsies. Yeah, it was something crazy. It was like stunt helicopters. Some things we don't need to do stunts in, right?
What is going
A
on with Jay
helicopter-
Leno?
yeah, a
I'm sorry.
the poor guy, man.
Right.
What is happening? I'm looking up, and every time I look up, they're showing him showing off a new injury. Like he's got an eye patch, and underneath it, it's disgusting and purple, and he's got a wrist thing. What is happening?
So Jay Leno was doing a stand-up show. I guess Jay Leno like just continues to work, even though he has all the money in the world. Continues to work, and he was doing a show. I feel like that he said it was like in the Boston area. It could be wrong. And instead of taking like the path down, because his hotel is at the top of a hill, he decided, you know what, I'm gonna walk down the side of the hill. And then he fell down the side of the hill 60 feet.
I got to tell you, walking downhill is a dangerous game.
A dangerous game, and
Yes,
he's
it is.
probably like mid-70s now, right? So like, this is gonna sound mean, and I didn't mean to kind of do like a Jay Leno sounding impression there, but like at a certain point, like you have that uncomfortable conversation, like with your elders, your parents, your
Yes.
aunts, uncles, whatever, whoever's like responsible in your life. You have to say like, hey, maybe it's time we start hiding the car keys. Maybe and Jay's rich, like Jay, just like take a golf cart
a
down,
lot of
take
car-
an
a lot of
Uber.
car
Like
keys,
yeah.
what are we doing? Yeah. Oh my God! Imagine taking Jay Leno's keys. Like he would always have a spare somewhere.
Yeah.
Because like when you take away elderly people's keys, what you find out, like I had a friend that they did that to the grandfather. Right? They took away the grandfather's keys, and the grandfather knew what was up, and he ended up passing away. When he passed away, they went to
Before
clean out
he
his
found the
house.
keys?
Okay, so they went to clean out his house, and when they went to clean out his house, what they found was he knew that it was happening, and he made 1 million copies and had keys hidden all over the house.
Wow.
So everywhere that they would clean, they'd find a new set of car keys that he hid in the house because he knew they were going to take away his car keys.
Now multiply that by like 100 cars because Jay.
That's what
Jay
I'm
Leno-
saying.
Right, that's what he's saying. Yes.
Jay Leno would be impossible to stop him from driving. And it's not just driving, right? Like he flies too, or Harrison Ford is the one that flew. Did Jay Leno fly things too?
Travolta.
No, but remember Harrison Ford crashed an airplane.
I remember
not
Harrison.
too
I don't
long
remember Jay
ago.
Leno.
Yeah, like Harrison Ford crashed an airplane, and then like a couple months later, it's like Harrison Ford flying again. It's like, why? Stop flying. Like, what's wrong with you?
In terms of Jay Leno, I'm saying just stay inside, man. Like, this whole side of his face is purple. He's wearing an eye patch. I mean,
Yes, we have sound. We do have sound of Jay Leno wearing an eye patch talking about the accident.
Jay Leno is all bruised up. The left side of his face is black and blue. His eye is swollen shut. And look at his injured wrist.
It broke my wrist, lost the nail on the finger, and then I'm all black and blue.
The comedian says he fell down a 60-foot hill.
I said, well, the hill doesn't look that steep. Let me take it down. And then
You rolled down a hill?
Oh,
That's not true.
no, that's true.
Jay Leno says he was staying at a Hampton Inn about 30 miles outside of Pittsburgh on Saturday night when he wanted to have dinner at a local restaurant before his show. Instead of walking a mile and a half down the road, he decided to take a shortcut down the hill. Not a good idea.
The hill is a cliff.
Okay, hold on.
Wait, he stayed at a Hampton Inn?
And then he was like, I'll be fine.
Hold on,
I'll see you again. Oh.
guys. Guys, I have some reckless speculation here.
Okay.
Time to throw away all journalistic credibility and get reckless. Here is something we like to call reckless speculation.
You're good.
the most excited I've ever been after hearing that sound.
Unpaid gambling debts.
Ooh.
Really?
Look at him. Can we get that image back on the screen? Not the video, but just the image of him. That's not falling down a hill injury.
Like, how do you get hit in the eye socket specifically and that your eye swells shut? Like, it must have been a tree is the only thing I could think of if that was the case.
Like the broken finger, the one broken finger.
He's like, I lost a nail. And like, oddly enough, he's like looking around when he says that, as if like he just dropped the nail.
So like he's reportedly worth $450 million. Like, does he just doesn't want to sell his cars?
Keeps working.
He is staying at a Hampton Inn.
Staying at a Hampton Inn, he's still
It's
working.
Pittsburgh. Like,
Exactly. You're Jay Leno. If you're Jay Leno, you just do the Comedy Store and you do like the Comedy Cellar. That's how you get your itch scratched. You just walk in there. By the way, Jay Leno, he's the type of comedian, walks in, doesn't matter who's on the set. They're going to bump them and put them up there.
I love Billy thinking that Pittsburgh doesn't have any good hotels.
I mean, so he reportedly like did a show like 90 minutes after this accident. He just went and did a show anyways, and then like, and if you want, you can see Jay tonight back in LA. He's doing some charity show. Guy doesn't want to stop working.
Even more to the point, you got to keep earning. To
Maybe
keep
he's not worth $450 million. Maybe he's broke.
You know what I would do if I like now thinking about this? So, and this is mean and borderline elderly abuse. So I'm just gonna get out on the front end and say this.
Clear out.
Okay, so like we've gotten this out of the way, borderline elderly abuse, but the ends justify the means on this situation. This is elderly abuse, but it's for a good cause. So, as we've seen, Jay is prone to accidents. He caught on fire not too long ago. Also, I believe there's a situation with a fire. So, Jay, obviously, we need to keep him busy because I guess he's bored. That's why he's doing these shows or gambling debts, as Amin said. But I think he may just be bored and looking for things to do. He just wants to keep working, right? Now, we remember that he gave up the Tonight Show and he gave it to Conan.
Yeah.
And then took it back like 3 months
weeks later.
later. Yeah, or whatever. It was a very short time. He immediately took it back. I think instead of taking his car keys, what you do is, if he's actually worth $450 million, is you say, because this is where it gets, borderline elderly abusive. Like, as, we've seen, we struggle sometimes with different streaming services. We don't know how to find this fight or that fight or whatever, right? We don't know where these things are on.
Streaming age.
Yeah. So I think what you do with Jay is, if you're his family and you have access to, his accounts or whatever, you tell him, Jay, NBC Peacock needs you again. Jimmy, something's up there, right? Jimmy's going to be taking a little break, some time for himself. They need the big dog back. And then what you do is you build a replica set of The Tonight Show and Jay Leno's massive estate.
Right.
And then you say, you know what, Jay, don't worry about it. We're going to set it up. We can make you a home studio, right? Or you just rent a studio, whatever. You built him a replica set.
Home studio in his house, yes.
I think you do that,
Like
or
Gilbert Arenas.
but then he may be on to what's going on, or you just like rent like a studio space and you build like a replica set, right? And the replica set actually might be better because like in LA and Hollywood, my assumption is people just always want to be in crowds on TV shows, right? So what you do is You just tell him he's hosting the Tonight Show again.
Yes.
And then every day you go out there and you do run-throughs for the Tonight Show.
You're creating a simulation for him. He'll
Exactly
be living in a
right.
simulation of his former life.
You get some unhoused people to be the in-studio audience?
Well, I mean, I don't know about that, but you just get extras. Everybody wants to be an extra.
You can
on a
also
TV
just
show
pay
audience.
like 100 people,
Of course.
right?
No,
to be a
you-
part. No,
Yeah,
but
you
it's the
could.
same 100
These
people.
are
You're just
run-throughs.
hired,
These are run-throughs.
right? And they're just in a different spot every day, so that
Yeah.
way he doesn't notice.
But
But
you
I-
pay less if they're unhoused.
But okay, well,
I'm just
but
saying.
I think you could just get them for free. I don't think you have to pay them if they
Oh,
think they're
there
in a
you
studio
go.
audience. And it just
a sandwich.
no.
Maybe a chicken sandwich
just
from
tourists.
Shake Shack.
And
Do it
this
on
This is all
Sundays.
just to keep Jay Leno safe.
To
and
keep him safe,
inside.
to keep him from driving, you just basically have him doing the Tonight Show every
Yes.
day. It just doesn't air anywhere.
Right, thinking it's going to lead up. to
Exactly
eventually
right, and then you
airing.
make sure
Right,
he's
yes.
off the street and he's fine.
Now,
He's
Billy-
not walking down mountains for fun.
Billy, how much security will we need here? Because
None. No one knows this is happening
well,
except Jay Leno.
The mob knows, and they.
Well, but this goes back to you seem to be stuck on two things today. You seem to be stuck on potential gambling debt
Yes.
and the unhoused, and I don't understand why we're stuck on those things in this
Well,
scenario. My scenario didn't involve either of those things.
Yes,
We
it
just
kinda
keep bringing
did.
it back to that.
That's
Do
why.
you, do you have to call him Big Dog? Is that part of the routine? Do you have to call Jay Leno Big Dog?
He's a big dog and he knows it. Like that's how you lure him back in because he's like, no, I don't know, Jimmy's doing a great job. So it's like he doesn't want to step on Jimmy's toes. He's like, well, when I did the coding. So like
Mickey
no one
Mouse.
wants to step on his toes because he got the bad reputation when he did to Conan. So he doesn't want to do it to Jimmy. But then when you throw in the big dog, like Jimmy needs you, big dog, and he's like, okay. And then he gets back in, puts on his leather jacket,
Yep.
gets on his motorcycle. But
Yep.
even his motorcycle, you just put it on a treadmill and you have like the scenes going by behind. It's like, when he's driving
never
in.
know.
You got a fan blowing his
Yeah,
hair back?
exactly right. He doesn't know.
Hey, Dan.
Fell down a hill is a great old person way to get injured.
It's a dangerous game. I was telling the guys, walking downhill as you get older, dangerous game.
I really thought that your observation was the correct one on that entire story, beyond the grotesqueness of Jay Leno's face and just the funny in falling down a hill. Hampton Inn is stunning. That was the most shocking fact in that story. What do you mean Jay Leno was staying at a Hampton Inn?
Pittsburgh.
Billy has the right take when he's like, wait a minute, you're still grinding it out on the circuit, working material, when you've got an airplane hangar filled of Porsches? Like,
Or does he?
Why are you staying at a Hampton Inn?
I like the idea of
Please
him.
get me some nearby hotels there or something.
He needs to still
Like,
feel
tell
the
me what I can
rush.
find.
He needs to feel like he's
Forgive me,
traveling.
Billy, I can't hear you for something. Something's wrong. It's better this way.
Yeah.
It's better this way.
You're not
I
missing much.
just felt a real enjoyment in doing the show.
We're on to something.
I feel like I can only hear Amin and Stugotz right now and not the rest of you.
We saved the show.
Forgive me for being late. I was going to start with a screed about how Joel Embiid has to get to games and practices and team functions on time. How rare is it, for a guy like Maxey in the pecking order to have to go after his star player because the 76ers are the biggest disaster in the sport? They're 2-11. They've got the same record as the Wizards.
Well, first and foremost, let's give a shout out to the columnist who got shoved, who today is doing his own Peloton victory lap somewhere. He's like patting himself on the back like, I told y'all. Everybody was trying to yell at me, talking about I'm a bad guy, but I told y'all. So, according to reporting by Shams Charania, not that out of place, out of common, because Maxey, A, has a greater relationship with Embiid, and they hold each other accountable, and B, Maxey has been more vocal recently within the locker room. So it did not, for the people inside the room, and ultimately that's the most important group, for the people inside the room, it did not come across as, who the hell is this young whippersnapper to tell our MVP this? It was like, yeah, that's his place. So I'm going to assume from the reporting that it's not a big deal. And again, Maxey, this is his fourth year in the league. He's clearly one of the best players on the team. He's been an all-star. And most importantly, he's got a relationship. Now, I'll give you a great example of someone that resume-wise you say he can't say anything, but really was one of the best at doing this. And everyone's going to laugh. Thanasis Antetokounmpo. One of the big reasons why he was on the Bucks for all those years was because reportedly, he was the only guy that could tell Giannis, hey, man, you're full of it right now, and you need to shut up and listen to these people. And Giannis would listen to him because it's his older brother. But, a lot of times those characters come in packages in a way where, like, you're not someone who can say, look, think about Udonis Haslem. Who's Udonis Haslem to say anything to anybody all those years? You barely play. You're an old man. But the respect level was there, and when the message came from him, people accepted it.
I just think it's pretty interesting that you have a player in his prime who has an assortment of health issues but is MVP worthy. In that sport, Stugotz, that I imagine part of the reason somewhere that ratings are down is people argue about whether it's three-pointers or social justice or load management or whatever it is. I imagine there's a general dissatisfaction with the idea of a guy like Joel Embiid can't be bothered to play all the time when he's an MVP talent.
I would say that's the biggest thing working against the NBA is people are hesitant to go to games or tune into games because the guys they want to see aren't playing.
I don't know the reason, and I'm going to defer to Amin on, I'm sure, because this has been his industry, his business for a long time. He cares deeply about the reasons that people have less interest. There is a bit of a changing of the guard. We've been having the same stories for 10 years now, right? Where it's same players, and now there are new players coming. But Joel Embiid, part of the dissatisfaction, I would imagine, with the sport is all of the players, they get upset wherever it is that they're playing, and then they change teams. And everything is breaking in Philadelphia in a way that will make him feel unappreciated by everyone there and not want to be there anymore, available as an MVP talent in his prime, because it can't start worse than it has. It's like he put a bookmark in last season. He's got Bell's palsy because of the stress in his face trying to play against the Knicks in Madison Square Garden. And then this season starts, and it starts with him and Paul George aren't playing. And it starts with this story now. Maxey, it starts with him telling Philadelphia, hey, you don't appreciate me enough. I mean, we're real close to this guy not wanting to be there anymore because of how poorly everything has started there. And here's the thing about Philadelphia getting upset about that. They need him so much more than he needs them. Like, that's part of how it is you get to this kind of entitled when you've overcome everything he's overcome and you arrive late for stuff and tell your fan base, do you know what I've given you? Shut up. I'll play when I'm ready.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a bunch of things happening. It's part of it is health. How much of that is under its control? How much of it isn't? There's a city in Philadelphia and a media base that is one of the more critical ones in the league, right? There is a team that has entitled him, given him entitlement since he was a rookie. I mean, I remember hearing stories from people close to the Sixers back then where they were like, they had to hold the bus for Joel Embiid. This is when he was a rookie or his second year in the league. And I said, what do you mean they had to hold the bus? Why? First of all, holding a bus, when have we ever done that? Second of all, why didn't they just take the second bus? And the guy told me, that is the second bus. And I said, hold on, you have a rookie who's taking the second bus? In NBA, now it's different, ladies and gentlemen. It's all gone to shit. But
wow, here we go. I love when he goes full old man falling down a hill with his basketball analysis.
Look, man.
It's all gone to shit.
You should do that with an eye patch on.
Tell us how they used to travel back in the horse and buggy days when you were running the league, Amin.
Look, I'm not saying when I was running the league, but when I worked in the league, it was known if you were a rookie, even the number one overall pick who was dominating, we're on the road, you take the first bus to the arena. If not, take a car service to the arena before the first bus because you want to get extra work in, right? The second bus was just vets. You never had young players on that bus. And so for a guy to be taking the second bus as a rookie or a second-year player, that was unheard of. And then lump onto it, we're holding the bus? Dude, there are a lot of vets who've been left. You got to get your own taxi or whatever, Uber from the well, there were no Ubers back then, from the hotel to the arena if you are late to this bus. So this is the backdrop of which, he has been raised. for young players, that's why it's so important for rookies and young players that everything is held to a higher standard for them. Because whatever they experience, that's what they think this thing is. And that's why you get so many guys who are at one organization and do things a certain way, and they get to their 6th and 7th year in the league, and then they get traded somewhere, and they're like, oh, that's how they do that? Think about how many guys come to Miami and are shell-shocked about like the level of regiment because they've lived a life where it's like, nah, this is the NBA. You can just show up late to the bus.
Miami's interesting in that Miami's a bit of a military school, and LeBron and a bunch of others sort of shocked at the way that the place was run when they got here. But I remember one of the first things to bounce against it was Shaq getting here, the Shaq economy, right? They did a certain thing a certain way, and then he gets here and he bounces against, like, wait a minute, I'm a bigger star than basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And what Embiid's story is, not just everything that he overcame to be one of the top 1% of the top 1% against all odds playing basketball professionally for all the money. He's the entire process.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only reason.
Well, he's the part of the process that works.
Well, he's the entire franchise's reason for having value and interest in basketball. And he's been the only good thing about what they do for a long time. And so when he looks up and Daryl Morey is summoned as his administrative assistant to go get him Paul George, and maybe I'll resign, maybe I'll want to be here. Like, all of these guys have taken over their franchises the way Aaron Rodgers takes over a franchise, which is what happens when you get star power and the star actually has power.
Dan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Would you like to say hello to Billy? Because I know you missed him earlier. No?
No, that's okay. It was I really the last 9 minutes were so much more tranquil in my head. Just generally, I felt like I was walking through a spa for the last 9 minutes.
You looked at me? I got to tell you, Swap Week was picking up steam yesterday. I had a very influential college voice reach out to me and say, I love Swap Week. We can get to that later.
Yeah, let's get to that later. Right now, Dan is skipping past the best thing that Joel Embiid said. And it's basically him announcing that he wants to go. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do not.
He said, in a slow trickle, if you will, that Jimmy Butler is the best player in the league. Oh, please. He started off by saying one of, and then got to the best player in the league. If that's not him pandering and saying, hey, I want to go to Miami, I don't know what is.
Hold on for a second. Do you guys remember the movie where there's two guys and they both have issues with someone and say, well, if I murder your person and you murder my person, no one will suspect us because we're random people crisscross, right? That's what's happening here. Because Joel Embiid is probably unhappy in Philly, and Jimmy Butler probably not thrilled about being in Miami. And they're like, you know what we should do? We should just throw chum in the water and give each other compliments. And everyone's like, I think, oh, Joel Embiid's going to Miami. And people else say, oh, Jimmy Butler's going to Philly.
They both like doing that more than any other players in the league. Let's go ahead and play Joel Embiid doing this here because this is going, I think, in Philadelphia about as badly as it could possibly go.
What kind of problems did Jimmy present tonight offensively?
I mean, Jimmy is Jimmy. He does everything, scoring, passing the ball, commanding, while being on the floor. Both sides of the floor. One of the best players in the league, probably top 5, probably the best actually.
Wow, it really escalated there quickly.
One of the best, top 5. All right, he's the best.
Not quite a trickle.
What just happened there? How did he elevate that quickly? Was his unhappiness rising and he just kept going higher? Why would he go from top 5? Why would he argue with himself that way?
I'm just picturing him like, oh, one of the best. Oh, that's not going to make news. Top 5. That's not going to do anything either. Oh, the best. He's the best player.
Is there anyone other than Joel Embiid and Jimmy Butler who think that Jimmy Butler is the best player in the league?
Karl Anthony Towns.
So there is there's a third.
Not a one.
Andrew Wiggins also. All of those Timberwolves.
Everyone who's been bullied. Ben Simmons.
You say that Embiid needs, or Philadelphia needs Embiid more than he needs Philadelphia. And I would say no. He's been a failure there.
Oh.
No, I'm serious. He hasn't played more than 70 games. He's never advanced that team to a conference finals. And yes, maybe they got parts of the process wrong, but they did get a Maxey. Now he has Paul George. He hasn't been good enough. It's him. He hasn't been good enough. And if he leaves and tries to connect himself to Jimmy or go find a super team elsewhere, he'll just be another guy like Kevin Durant who couldn't get it done on his own.
You can have that opinion. I'm more interested actually in the fault line of what do you do when your unhappy superstar is entirely the reason for your relevance? Like, what do you do? Because if I make that Paul George and Maxey, no one thinks that's beating Cleveland and Boston. No, the only way that advances anywhere is with that guy. That's why the power's real, and that's why the value is real, because they're a nowhere franchise without him.
It almost seems like he's just realizing everything this year, where he's like, man, I've been through some teammates. Man, I've been through some injuries, and now I've got this reporter talking about my dead brother, and I've got this going on, and I've got to talk about Jimmy Butler because I can't stand it here anymore.
And I don't feel like playing, and people in Philadelphia, the worst fan base for that.
Oh, boy.
For that. I don't feel like playing, and it may indeed be your body, and it may be at that size, flopping around, falling on the floor, playing the way that you do have to try to preserve your body for the playoffs. It's a smart business move, but when you start at 2-11, you're going to have a lot of ground to make up. Like this is a disaster to start the season when they're as bad as the Wizards.
The playoffs start now.
Well, they literally did in the in-season tournament.
The wild part about that day in particular, having this happen, is Embiid started the day as doubtful to play and ramped himself up to be able to play that game against the Heat, but went out there and was laboring, whether it was his knee, whether it was his conditioning. He simply could not perform at the level we're used to. It was his first game not taking a free throw since 2018. That was how ineffective he was. But all I can think about is Caleb Martin that night, who showed up that morning to shoot around, his first time walking back into the building in Miami, now as a member of the 76ers, going and playing against the Heat. And then after that game, Kyle Lowry calling a meeting after they blew a 19-point lead against Miami and Jimmy Butler in order for Maxey to call out Embiid, and they're 2-11. I can't imagine what Caleb Martin is thinking.
You look ridiculous.
If I only had a heart, Dan. I used to before I started working here.
Billy, did I leave any meat on the bone when it came to this Jay Leno story? Because there was something about him falling down a hill and the conversation that you guys were having about trying to take away the keys from old people. Because I just had this conversation yesterday with my mother.
Really?
Where they did not make Thanksgiving plans far away and she made a whole bunch of smoke and excuses and lies to trick my father about why they're not doing it. But it's simply because she doesn't want him getting into a car and driving far. And I'm like, Mom, thank you. Just please start lying to him, because he will not let me have the keys to his car. And 5 years ago, I drove with him someplace driving 45 miles an hour among 70-mile-an-hour cars. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I've got to take this old man's keys, but he won't let me.
How about you get your old man a driver?
He won't take one.
Really?
He won't do it.
It's a tough discussion. I've had it with my dad. He will not give up the keys as well. He's very stubborn. But Dan, imagine, because years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, Mike Ryan's going to try to take your keys. Are you going to be willing, because you don't have kids, are you going to be willing to give those keys up? Huh?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind
Really?
being chauffeured around.
I think you say that now.
Just tell Poppy that they renewed HQ. You build him a studio. You do the show, and then you just say, like, Poppy, one of the perks this time, they got you a driver.
Yeah.
They're just gonna send someone to pick you up every day.
Now, Dan, to answer your question on the meat on the bone, Billy's been over here looking up Hampton Inns in Pittsburgh for the last 20 minutes, so I'm pretty sure there's plenty of meat there.
Billy,
there's 18, it looks like.
Billy, if we do that for Poppy, how much security will we need? Because, the gambling debts and the mob.
I love the way Stugotz says stubborn. He puts the R in front of the O.
It's a tough one for me. Yeah, it is.
No, it's sometimes. No, it's not all the time.
There's a Ritz in Pittsburgh.
I really don't understand why it is Jay Leno was staying at a Hampton Inn.
I know why it is.
I was told that Jay Leno only spends the money that he makes doing stand-up.
He's like Gronk. Didn't they say that about Gronk? Like Gronk only, he would save all his football checks and all his advertisements.
But got that from Shaq.
But, like, Jay, what are we saving it for? You know what I mean? Like, this is what you saved it for. To have fun now.
This
right?
was the same conversation that my parents were having just the other day. Like, my mother's yelling at my father for being cheap. And she's like, I thought this is what we were saving for. This time, when are we going to spend it?
Poppy is never done saving.
We're in our 80s. That's right.
All right. Nice try.
Yeah.
You know what? Behind the curtain,
Yeah.
he pushed a button, the sound was supposed to come out. Sometimes that little thing they got in front of him there
doesn't work.
It's because earlier Amin had the reckless speculation running for like 15 minutes, so I had to turn it down.
Is that what happened? Reboot?
No, I mean, I just hit the button once.
No, that's why it was down.
A lot of finger pointing in this huddle.
What were you trying to push, Dan, so we can get
It
it?
was thank you, Billy. That's all. That's the joke we were sitting around waiting for. That one father sound of it's nice. It's nice to have.
It's a nice
him
sound.
around.
Brings me back.
You guys have me tricking him into here's your driver, Dad. We're doing highly questionable again. And then what happens when there's no highly questionable?
No.
When-
We
there
got to
is
go
a
the
high-
whole way.
yes.
Like, do I have to show up or Bomani?
No, we've all got to do. Jason,
we've got to just keep doing this.
Yes.
So, okay.
Jason's got to be behind the camera again, like back in the day. Like,
No, yeah, that's the thing.
we've got to do everything back in the day.
Exactly right. You bring up the old cast from the
Yeah.
Clevelander,
Yep.
and then you have one of the drivers be. I don't know. I don't want to go to air with this, but we will. I don't know who he liked and who he didn't like from the old cast. So then you have the driver be that person, and then the hope is they just get in such a chummy conversation that like Lucio or whoever just spends the entire time driving Poppy around
Circles.
town, and they're just talking, and it's like, oh, Chino, I didn't know that you're a driver now, and it's like, yeah, oh, Kendry's back, like, what are you doing, Kendry's like, oh, he's driving now. Yeah. And
How's
it's
the family?
Exactly right. And then you just, every day they talk, it's always a different person from the past. Danny's there one day, Bruce is back.
Bro.
Easy.
Is Myra back?
You guys are just delighted with your inside jokes. That
do you
entire
mean?
Billy story was just so that he could
Kendry.
name Kendry, Chino, Danny, and Bruce by name.
And Myra
and Lucio.
But just for
It doesn't matter. the
I
name.
hate so much when they do just a show for each other.
Can't forget about Lucio.
Myra has to still be talking. A lot of girth behind these coloring books.
That's the sound of Stugotz selling out our autographed coloring books. We are selling out as part of our 20-year celebration around here. We're introducing the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz's 20th anniversary jersey. It's a weird choice to enter the Christmas holidays selling a sleeveless garment, but here we are.
I mean, 20 years, I have been on fire. The last 20 years have put me in the Hall of Fame. Who would look worse in a tank top, me or you?
Okay, it's sleeveless garmentry that we're selling at lebatardaf.com. It took us 20 years to make it. It looks just as bad on us as you would imagine. We have failed again as a show, as we often do, not to bring you immediately or more immediately Stugotz's tears through laughter because of everything that is happening with his New York Jets. I don't think any of us had correctly predicted that the way that Aaron Rodgers to New York would go would be one season loss after 4 plays and nothing positive, and then the second season resulting before you've gotten to the 2/3 point of the season, the firing of both the coach and the general manager. And now reported details in The Athletic that make it sound like you've got an owner who is more meddlesome than any of us ever knew. Woody Johnson is the rare person who has both first and last name that would be a reference to penis. I think Dick Pole is the only other one in anywhere in sports, I think.
Dick Harder.
I'm on it.
Former NBA assistant coach, Dick Harder.
Right, yeah.
Dick Carter.
Harder.
Yeah.
Schlong Wiener.
Where did he play? Tell me more about 1880's second baseman for the Cleveland Spiders.
Yeah, Spider, you knew.
Schlong Wiener.
You knew he was a Spider.
He played at Morehead State.
Woody Johnson is the actual name of your owner. Both of his names are a reference to penis. He is meddlesome. He is somebody who has some of that reputation, but even you had to be surprised by some of the details in The Athletic. Now, I don't know. There were like 8 bullet points I saw on just meddlesome behavior that suggested, and this is true in a lot of pro sports. Hell, Amin can tell you this in Phoenix, where you can have an organizational structure that is otherwise sound, and the owner's just a crazy person who likes to play with his toys and just makes a mess of things because he wants to change the quarterback on you. One of the details that I did not read in that story but saw elsewhere on the internet that I don't know if it's true or not, that I would like verification on. Did Woody Johnson really go in after week 4 of this season and want Aaron Rodgers benched in favor of Tyrod Taylor?
Yeah, that's what he read.
Yep.
Yeah, it's in the New York Times article.
He talked about it with Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas. They said, no, you'll embarrass Aaron if you do that. I actually, in this particular case, I praise Woody Johnson for walking into that office realizing that there is something off with Aaron Rodgers. He's not playing as well. He's getting old. And having the audacity as the owner of the Jets to suggest to the coach and GM, hey, maybe there's a guy sitting on our bench that gives us a better chance to win. I'm okay with that. I am. It's the first time I've been okay with anything Woody Johnson has ever done.
Well, you're only okay, though, because everything that's happened since has been an unmitigated disaster that can only be put at the feet of Aaron Rodgers. Like, now, in hindsight, the way that you said yesterday that the thought of Michael Penix is the second best rookie quarterback in the league, the thought of what the Jets season could have been without Aaron Rodgers now looks better because you've seen what the season has looked like with Aaron Rodgers. So nothing could be quite that bad.
According to that article, the argument back from the coaches and the GM was that basically the entire team would be confused as to what was happening. Oh, thank you, Izzy. I was feeling really tight. I appreciate you giving me a little oil there. But the reality is that they were worried the entire team would just sort of abandon ship and quit if Rodgers was immediately benched after just 4 weeks of poor performance. But that's why Saleh got fired a week later.
The Jets were also 2-2 at the time. Like, there's no way you would have been okay with that happening. Now, granted, they went on to lose 1, 2, 3, 4 more after that loss. So they lost 5 straight. Yes, but had they lost those 5 straight with Tyrod Taylor, you would have been crushing them. Like, what are we doing? Why did we bring in Aaron Rodgers to have him on the bench, to have Tyrod Taylor playing, to lose 5 straight games? It's just the results is why you're fine with it.
Regardless of what could have happened, What we can now, and you touched on this earlier, Dan, assess is the tenure here in New York, because it's over. He's not coming back next year. This is from SNY's Connor Hughes. He said it's very clear the organization is going to find a new quarterback. The Aaron Rodgers tenure with the Jets is going to be over. They're not going to find a coach handpicked by him. If you pay attention, he really only went there because Nathaniel Hackett was there. Hughes suggests he didn't want new. He wanted the same old familiar and didn't get that. And besides judging his New York Jets tenure, you can also look at his personality a little further and say, hey, maybe he was his own worst enemy in Green Bay, and he absolutely should have won more than one Super Bowl.
I think one of the questions that nobody asking is Woody Johnson is the fourth, and his name is Robert Wood Johnson the fourth. So his middle name they decided on is going to be Wood, just W-O-O-D. And not just that, he's the fourth one. So 4 people in his family have the middle name Wood and possibly another one. How did that become a name? Because I always assumed it was Woodrow Johnson, but it's Robert. I guess there's a Bob and a Bobby already since he's the fourth. And then they said, you know what, we're going to stick with Wood as a middle name, and you're just going to be Woody.
All good questions, Billy. None of which we have the answer to as I stare blankly at you. I don't know how Wood became Woody. I don't know how his name became Wood.
Well, I can guess how Wood became Woody. I don't know how Wood became a middle name.
Well,
right. Wood was the middle name. They made him Woody.
You can guess, yes. You can guess how Wood became Woody. You can't know for sure why Robert was replaced. You don't know, as we sit here, how it is that all of this escalated to he preferred Wood and Woody to Robert. I don't know what's wrong with Robert. What's
I know
wrong
why
with
Robert
Bob?
Saleh was replaced.
Well, one of the details in the story is that he fired Saleh without telling anybody, without consulting anybody.
He did that a week later after he suggested that Aaron be benched, and everyone dismissed it.
Because he suggested benching Aaron, and he got pushback. So he's like, you know what? I'm doing this one on my own.
So, Billy, I understand your point. They were 2-2 at the time, but that was coming off the 10-9 loss to the Denver Broncos. Revenge game against Nathaniel Hackett. Aaron Rodgers played terrible. And maybe what he said to himself, because I know I was thinking it, is he injured? Did something happen in week 2? He's not moving as well. He's not playing as well. And then maybe Woody took a look at the schedule because it got really difficult after that and said, hey, Tyrod Taylor might be a better option.
That Broncos loss, not that bad in hindsight.
Do you guys realize, as we celebrate America's most popular sport only getting larger at every turn, that many of these people who are wildly wealthy that you credit with being brilliant because they're wildly wealthy are fools about how to run things? Just fools. Jerry Jones was all in. The Jets thought this was a Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
Like that. The Cowboys thought they were a Super Bowl team.
That's my favorite part about all this. It's not, hey, we're not as good as we should be. It's you start the season saying, I'm feeling good. I feel like we could do it this year. This is my whole thing about people calling NBA teams tanking, like at least 4 or 5 years ago. A lot of those teams thought they were going to be good. They actually thought, hey, guys, this is our year. We could actually make a pretty good run. And then by January, you realize, oh, we suck. And then they just start playing young guys and whatever. But that's the hilarious thing about both the Cowboys and the Jets. The Jets literally sat here for an entire offseason saying, man, if he hadn't gotten hurt last year, but we about to show him this year. Do you remember that Thursday night game?
Yes, but they said it last year,
Hold on. Do you remember the Thursday night game?
Yeah, of course.
Where Aaron Rodgers threw it all over the field and you guys were like, we got a quarterback.
Yeah. Yes.
It feels like 7 years ago.
But that's the confusing part, though, is because they said going in, hey, we're a quarterback away. And now you're saying, no, we're any quarterback away. Let's put in Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor away, which is really, really funny. The whole thing with Joe Douglas, all of this is actually really fascinating because Joe Douglas, who was fired, he put together a roster that was good enough where Aaron Rodgers at least wanted to come and play for the New York Jets. Like, he got some really good players. He could just never land the quarterback. So he got Quincy Williams. He got Sauce Gardner, Breece Hall, Will Anderson, Garrett Wilson. Got all those guys through the draft. All of those guys. That's why this is kind of a coveted job right now, only because this is the most talented the Jets have ever been.
Oh, I don't know how coveted the job is when you don't have
coveted.
A quarterback. You need to have a quarterback.
Dan, it's more. I don't care about the Jets and the history. I know what a wreck of a franchise it is. It's a coveted job.
Stugotz, the Jets have lost more than any team in the sport since 2017. That guy's their owner. This story reveals to everybody what it is to work for that guy. That kind of mismanagement is reflected in the standings, and you can tell me they have talent. They do have talent. But being a good quarterback away means you're not in it. Like, if you need to get a good quarterback to make your team good, it means you're not actually close if you've got to find one of those when those are really hard to find.
I understand everything you just said, but it's market number one and the New York Jets, and plenty of people will want that job. Rex Ryan among them.
I will tell you that a division that has Josh Allen at the top of it at his age, when you've lost as much of the Jets do and have that kind of dysfunction, like, yeah, okay, head coaching jobs are coveted jobs. But if you want to win, like if I'm Belichick, I don't want to go there. If you tell me I've got to win again without a quarterback, no thanks. Tried that at the end. Didn't work with the Patriots.
If they draft his son, you think Dion wants to go there? How about that?
Right now they're sitting. Now they're sitting at 7, and you know, as the season goes on and they get worse, they will move up in the draft order. So they can address it in the draft. Also, remember, in Minnesota right now, Sam Darnold's playing on a 1-year deal.
No.
J.J. McCarthy's coming back. Sam Darnold's going to need a new home.
No.
I mean, there could be a little homecoming here in New York.
Stu, it can't be that coveted of a job if your owner is telling your coach to bench the quarterback. Like, when you have that type of owner, no coach is going to be like, yeah, I want to be a part of that.
I would look at that owner today and say, that man's a genius. He saw what none of us saw. He saw a tough schedule and a quarterback hobbling around at the age of 40 and said, you know what? Tyrod Taylor.
There also is the unique situation with Woody Johnson where, like, he may be an ambassador next year, so he may not actually be there. So you may not have to deal with Woody Johnson.
Hold on. Aaron Rodgers might be an ambassador.
I think he's just jealous.
In the government.
Wow.
Then they got to deal with each other again in like another.
Ambassador's cutting it up.
I don't know. Okay,
more
put it on the poll at Le Batard Show.
Right,
more likely to be an ambassador next year, a political ambassador, Woody Johnson or Aaron Rodgers.
Do you guys understand we're at a place where the American government might feature not one but 2 people from the Jets helping run it?
Are we getting the Space Force back? Did we lose the Space Force? Remember when that was a thing?
It's a great show on Netflix.
Yeah, what happened? They stopped that too.
Could ask Roy Wood next week.
I liked that show. But it was as a lot of things are going away now. I don't know if people are paying attention to this the way that that they should, but the way that Hollywood and media and everything are shaking, some of the things that you love most are going to be harder and harder to come by because corporations don't actually want to make anything interesting. They just want to make things they know that are palatable to you, like the flux and the change and how. Wait till you get a load of how many of those University of Florida documentaries you get that don't actually tell you the parts of the story that you want to hear about because corporations do not want to offend these leagues. They don't want to bother these leagues that they want to get the live streams from, so you're not going to get interesting content anywhere. You're going to get sanitized content all over the place. But I would watch a documentary on this Jet season if you show me the innards. And I don't think people know how common what Woody Johnson is doing there is, because I know people like to think of the idea of an owner being a leader who's hands off and then trusts the people that he hires to be good at their jobs or to do their jobs. But these are rich people with toys, man, and it's some of their favorite toys. They're not going to sit out the decision making.
That's why he bought a team. He bought a team so he could inject his voice in this.
So he could stroll into the GM's office and say, "Hey, I think we should bench Aaron."
They all have a little Jerry Jones in them. They're just a lot better at hiding it than Jerry Jones is because he wants to be on your sideline.
I can't believe he didn't get his way. An owner walking in and then being told something and being like, okay, you're right.
Let me tell you the experiences I have of being an owner and not getting my way. It's every single day, and when I tell people, they laugh in my face just like that. Every time I say to them, I thought when I was in charge, I was going to be in charge, and it's just guffawing laughter every time.
You can't bench Cody. Come on.
Woody Johnson doing that to the Jets makes for such great soap opera to read about in that market. The Giants can have their quarterback situation implode more quietly then the Jets can fire a general manager because of how messy. We saw the innards of the Giants on Hard Knocks. That doesn't give you a lot of confidence in Giants leadership. Didn't me, anyway.
With the Giants, though, their quarterback's demise is a celebration. No one wants Daniel Jones there. Like, he got that contract off of one playoff victory and one good game. So Giant fans are actually looking forward to getting rid of Daniel Jones. Jet fans legitimately thought we were finally going to win a Super Bowl. Like, we did.
The best parts of the Giants on Hard Knocks were the GM's kid telling them that they should go for Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
And he was right.
That's the thing about this stuff. We make fun of Cleveland's owner when he's talking to an unhoused person on the street and then hiring Johnny Manziel. But if Manziel had been great, that unhoused person would be running the Patriots right now.
I mean, in fairness, they didn't get a chance to draft him. It didn't fall to him, and he told his son, like, it's probably not still going to be around for us. But
right. And he took Malik Neighbors. I mean,
yeah.
Yes, right.
Do you think Fox is pissed at the Giants-Cowboys matchup on Thanksgiving Day? And it's like prime Thanksgiving football because, like, the 8:20 game, which is the Dolphins and the Packers this year, is kind. I don't know if you guys experience Thanksgiving Day the same way I do. The night game is kind of like I'm
sleepy.
I'm checked out.
I'm beat. Like I will watch you, but it's gonna be like off in the distance. Like I am all this is tryptophan or whatever it's called. You know,
You've had enough.
Exactly. I'm stuffed. Like it's coming out of all of my pores.
This one's gonna be on the phone in the bathroom.
Yeah, like 8:20 is late on Thanksgiving. I'm stuffed. Okay, but the 4 o'clock is usually like 12 o'clock is a little appetizer. Parade's done. Getting ready to go where we're going to go. 12 o'clock, we have it on as we're kind of getting dressed, ready to go. 4:30 is like prime time game. Like, okay, we're eating.
I might miss a quarter.
We're footballing right now. Yeah, I might miss a course because I'm watching football. And the 4:30 football game that we're going to get now is Tommy DeVito versus Cooper Rush.
Oof.
Billy, is there any way?
They should flex it out.
They really should.
Is there any way that I can convince you daily to try and summon from the recesses of your mind something like that speaks for all American sports fans on a truth so singular that everyone nodded and agreed with by the late game on Turkey Day? Oof. I'm done, and the television is far away and it's foggy, and I'm like footballed out and turkeyed out and fogged out and stuffinged out, and I'm Chris Cody watching the game in the bathroom on my phone to hide from my kid and my wife because he's had too many beers. He doesn't want to be seen, and he's just sort of catching the third quarter of Cooper Rush against Tommy DeVito.
Sweating gravy at that point.
Because he's bet the game, though. There's no circumstance he would watch it, not even for his job. It's only because he's got over 23 and a half in the first half and CeeDee Lamb over 65 yards is why he's hiding in the toilet from his family on a day for thanks.
It's a rough day, though.
It is. I'm with you.
Well, this year we have 8:20. We have to pay attention. It's Dolphins. But 4:30, that's the crap game when everybody wants to be watching.
Game swap?
Yeah.
Amin, what is your thanks day? You're not really a Giant football guy, right? You are.
I'm a Giants football guy.
But you are not someone who celebrates football on Thanksgiving, are you?
Oh, it's on. I mean, it's on the TV. There's nothing else really on TV on Thanksgiving, is there? Like, it's all like...
Well, I love... One of my favorite things is just scroll through the channels on your Sunday. The counter-programming to football as everyone gives up. Like you've got some local psychic from Hialeah is on television selling you herbs for
it's
for an
paid
hour.
programming. Yes, it's amazing.
It's so great. It's so the programming around football that doesn't want to compete with football is just giving away hours of television.
I love how NFL Network often will put the Thursday night game on at 1 o'clock, just hoping that somebody just doesn't realize it, and it's just like, oh, football's on. All right, I'll leave it here.
You have the dog show usually, right? Now it used to be It's a Wonderful Life, but then the dog show replaced It's a Wonderful Life after the parade. Of course, History Channel probably has a Forge and Fire marathon going on.
Can you find for me in your files, Stugotz, a top 5 athlete name who connote penis, please? Top 5 athlete names that.
How do you give that
penis.
list to Stu and not me? I'm here.
We're going to get to a back in my gay with you in a second. We're not. This is Stugotz's specialty. He's on your corner, Stugotz. You got to run him off your penis corner, your wiener corner. It's your corner. It's got your name on it.
Luther Head.
Is that number 5 or is that OLI?
I only have one more right now.
What do you mean?
I didn't write that. No, Amin wrote that down.
I'm sorry. I thought I got a sheet that says I have top 5 athlete names that connote penis, and it was over here. I thought you handed it to me.
Dick Paul.
Yes, I'm sorry, Stugotz.
Pretty
John
impressive.
Wiener.
Pretty impressive of a student to do this.
He's a pro.
Dick Michaels.
He's a pro, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm sorry. Any OLI, I mean.
Ricky Boner.
A bunch of OLIs. Do you know what I love? Stugotz hasn't said one on my list. This is great.
Well, Ricky Boner is not a player. Ricky Bonus is, but Ricky Boner was not a player.
What do you call more than one boner? Bonus.
A couple of boners.
Yeah, coming up. All right, OLI, Willie Long.
Excellent.
OLI, Chen Ming Wang. OLI, Dick McBride.
Just somebody named Dick.
OLI, Fat Lever. That one's subtle. And OLI.
Is it really?
Fat
Wait
lever?
a minute. You
Fat
think
lever,
that's subtle?
yes.
So let me be clear on what you. Oh, wait a minute. Let me be clear on how you define subtlety. Just to be clear.
Yeah.
So you think saying someone's got a fat dick is subtle?
Well, I don't think his name is Fat Dick. His name is Fat
subtle.
Lever.
Yeah, he didn't say that.
That's the subtlety, Dan. OLI, Roy McPipe.
That's not a real name.
That's a real name. All right, here we go. We're in the top 5s. Number 5, Dick Butkus.
Nice.
Number 4, Jake Glasscock. Got to be careful with that one. Number 3, Magic Johnson. That's a good one.
I had Lane Johnson.
Number 2, Dick Trickle. Did I steal that one?
It just says Dick in it. It's not even
Trickle.
a connotation.
What do you think a Dick Trickle is?
I had Dick Vermeil.
Yeah, he likes the butt kiss too. It's just you're just saying people named Dick.
Number 1.
I mean, it's not a real game.
Number 1, Chubby Cox.
Nice. Well done.
Subtle.
Yeah. First and last.
How is there no Randy Johnson?
Big unit.
Wow.
He has 2.
He has 2. That is correct. That is correct. That just reminded me, the day after my brother's birthday, what you shouting he has 2 is something that someone shouted. My brother ran through the backyard during football games because he did not like sports, wearing nothing except the prosthetic double dong. He'd run through the backyard doing that. The character was named Mysterio. And somebody
He was
would
48 years old.
He was about 35. I'm not even kidding. You guys were talking when I came on here in a little bit late today. You guys were saying that I should have helicoptered in because I was stuck in traffic and there was a vehicle fire out there that was very frustrating. I don't know how many. I haven't been late to work very often in my life. I don't know that there are a lot more frustrating feelings for me than just being stuck in traffic late to a responsibility.
Imagine how they felt.
I was going to say your car on fire would be pretty frustrating.
Yeah, I imagine. They had it a little bit worse than I did, just being frustrated and honking at them.
I told you he was honking.
Get out of the road.
With his trunk.
But you said I should have helicoptered out there, and you referenced the story on Catalina Island because I did that when I got seasick. I helicoptered back. You think that story is recent, though. That was in college. Like,
You had a chopper in college?
I went into debt to not be seasick. Like, it's not like I had money to do that. That's how bad it feels to be that kind of seasick.
That's what drove you down your career path, the need to repay all that just from that one helicopter trip?
Helicopters
like Jay Leno.
Expensive, man. Yeah, they're expensive. I do think, though, Stugotz, that football is pausing to laugh at the Jets today for fooling themselves into thinking that this was a Super Bowl season after, however many years of dysfunction there have been. you are just numb again. You've already gone through the stages of grief of being mad at Aaron, wanting him off your team, being disappointed with the whole thing, and not having a quarterback, but you're still talking yourself into the idea that it's a good job to have, that coaches would want to have the Jets job as if there's something appetizing there.
I just think it's the biggest market in the country. It's the Jets. I understand that they've had eventually a coach is going to come in there and he's going to get it right and get it done. Rex Ryan merely made it to 2 AFC championship games, and he's beloved by Jet fans. And maybe it will be a guy like Rex Ryan. I am done with Aaron Rodgers. The year I was looking forward to was not this year. It was last year before the Achilles tear. 40 years old after the Achilles. While I had hope after week 2 because he played a really good game, and they were 2-2, as Billy pointed out at one point, I'm just done with him. He's clearly not the same quarterback. I don't know if he'll ever be the same quarterback. I'm certain he and Devontae Adams will go somewhere next year and win the Super Bowl.
This, meanwhile, while Billy Gill tells you and tells anyone who's listening to God Bless Football and anyone who's listening in this office that the Dolphins are firmly in the mix.
They are in the mix.
That the Jets are behind them. I'm just repeating.
They fell out of the mix, the Jets, last week.
Well, the Jets are out of the mix. We're
at the moment.
Wait a minute. That can't be at the moment. You're either in the mix or you're out of the mix.
No, you can go out of the mix and climb right back into the mix.
You dabble with the mix,
but you can't get back in the mix after firing your coach and your general manager.
It's an uphill battle. I'm too soon with the Hills, but uphill battle.
Right. I mean, 6-5 is the 7 seed right now, and the Jets are sitting at 3-7. The Dolphins are sitting at 4-6. They're right there.
Dan, you've heard of the dead coach bounce. This is the dead GM bounce. You fire GM, and then the team gets riled up, and they start winning games as a result.
I saw a graphic. Pro Football Network has them at 24% chance to make the playoffs.
That's not bad.
PFN.
That's not bad.
Who's
24%?
that? The Jets or the Dolphins?
Dolphins.
Oh,
never mind. Yep.
What do they have the Jets at?
I got to look.
Okay. That's Billy's expertise right there. Asking you the question you don't have an answer
I don't
to.
know.
He loves
may just
doing that.
memorize them all.
Yes,
I don't know.
I know. But usually it is that you ask the question and then the answer doesn't come back and someone's got to do work for you. That's usually the way that one goes.
The Jets aren't a completely undesirable job. Like, their biggest problem now is their quarterback. The problem is that's the most important position. Like, he's going to be gone, but you don't know who's going to be there, which is why it's a tricky situation. But, like, to Stugotz's point, they have a lot of young pieces that are going to be there for a little bit. They just need to get a quarterback to make it work. And honestly, it almost seems like any serviceable quarterback with any amount of structure in the organization will do better than what's going on here because they're just catering to Aaron.
Okay, but just before this, we were saying certainly Aaron Rodgers or anybody would be better than Zach Wilson would be at the position. If they just had someone better than Zach Wilson at the position, they'd be a Super Bowl champion. And here they are with a worse winning percentage than they had when they had Zach Wilson.
Aaron Rodgers, according to Billy, isn't even serviceable as a quarterback. Like, that's where he is.
I am startled that you guys are making the argument on behalf of the Jets being a good job because of big market and pieces when the best job there is go stand next to wherever Joe Burrow is. Go stand next to wherever it is the great quarterbacks are, and those are the safest jobs. To not have a quarterback, I'd be real hesitant given what I just saw to happen to the end of Belichick's career, where I'm like, when he had the quarterback, that seemed like it went pretty well. And then when he didn't, it seemed like everything fell apart and now he's unemployed and he's supposed to be the best. Good quarterbacks are hard to get.
You don't think that gives you a little longer leash if you go in as a young coach that they think highly of, but say, hey, he doesn't have a quarterback. Let's give him a couple tries with different quarterbacks.
I find long leashes to be overrated.
I don't like them.
You try to walk the dog, all of a sudden they're running around a mailbox, and you got to do the thing where you're...
Can we be honest about Bill Belichick, by the way? Has it all fallen apart for him? He's got a 24-year-old fiance.
He's doing fine.
He's doing fine.
Yep.
He's on TV. He's roasting people.
He'll get a job.
He's going to get a job.
Yep.
It'll be better than the job he had.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing great.
Do you think that the Jets job is better than the Bears job that'll be available? Or the Cowboys job?
The Bears come with the same kind of stuff, finicky fan base, years of losing. It's probably a better job just because of Caleb, right? Like the idea of having Caleb Williams, to me, makes it a better job. But it's interesting. The Jets will have a draft pick and a high draft pick. I have no idea how good the quarterback class is coming out of college. But I am attracted to the idea of Dion and Shedeur Sanders coming together to New York. We're desperate. We are. Listen, you make fun of us all you want, okay? I don't get. Today's just another day. You can make fun of us if you want. I don't care. I woke up today. I felt the same way today as I felt yesterday and the same way I felt for the last 40 years. It's a lousy organization run by a lousy person who's a terrible owner, and they can't find a head coach, a GM, and a quarterback. They are a disaster. Laugh all you want. To me, just another day.
To answer Billy's question, the Jets have an 8% chance to make the playoffs.
Still in the mix.
Yep.
To answer
it's a little outside the mix.
It is outside the mix, yes.
What do you have to be at 10% to still be in the mix? Double digits?
I like 15.
Okay.
I feel like it's got to be over 25%.
Oh, well, then Dolphins are out of the mix. You just moved that because you knew the Dolphins were 24.
I feel like you got to be in the mix. You have to be among the percentages that are in the three quarters. You can't be in the quarter that's not in the three quarters.
OLM makes no sense.
Damn, someone noticed.
We just blew right by that. Outside looking mix.
Thank you, Jeremy, for catching that. I do appreciate that. It is Stugotz's sneakiness that would make him sink into. I hope no one notices that.
Blew right past it. You even said it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just repeated it.
I did.
Amazing.
I did. Thank you, Jeremy. You're absolutely
It's an amazing
right.
show we
You
have.
know what? I do deserve that fine. I'm going to pay that fine and a couple of others.
Really?
Rams are at 15%, so they're out of it, too.
What's the fine you're paying here?
I am paying the fine. I just by habit repeated the initials that don't make sense because I wasn't truly listening to Stugotz.
Oh, thank you.
And so, and I also owe for calling Fubu or Fubu last week. And I also called Derrick Henry Derek Harvey. I went to 8th grade with Derek Harvey. So,
word?
Yeah.
What's he up to?
Huh?
Look at me, Louie.
I don't believe that that's a look at me, Louie. I think I need a new sound here just for name drops. Can you guys get me a new one? Because we're filing a lot under Look at Me, Louie, and it's not all Look at Me, Louie. So get me something that just sounds like a name dropping and then a big sound of no, not that one. Stop annoying people with that.
Is Derek Harvey black?
Yes.
Oh man, I'm almost 100% on these, man. You give me a name, I know immediately.
Stu dropped a name earlier that I thought is the perfect answer for the Jets,
Jake
and those are the
Glasscock?
Sanderses.
Oh.
I mean, isn't that
Thank
how
you.
you deal with sort of an obtrusive or an owner that just wants to have his hands on everything? Is just give him a coach that's going to say, "Hell no, I'm not listening to you."
Well, he had that, and then he fired him.
In who?
Robert Saleh.
I don't know
come
if
on.
Saleh has that
He
kind of
doesn't have his-
reputation. I mean, Dion can command that kind of respect from Woody.
I'm telling you, yes. At first, this is how it works with all these owners. At first, yes, and then at some point, no. Think about Jerry Jones. He had Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson's ultimately, I'm a winner. Shut up. Let me do my thing. And at some point, Jerry Jones is like, nah. Like it's when you got to think about the mentality of a billionaire. How many times in a day, forget about football, just in your day, do you hear the word no? Right? Like there's no part of it. Also, you think the reason why you have $1 billion is because you're the smart guy. And everyone said we couldn't do it, but I found a way to do it. So you're telling me that this guy who's got billions and billions of dollars, who thinks he's right all the time, who's also an old white man, is going to let Deion Sanders, it must be the money, come in and talk about, I brought my own luggage, and it's Louis and all that stuff? Yeah, at first, he's going to be enamored because of the star quality. But at some point, Deion is going to say or do something that Woody doesn't like. And when that point hits, he gets hit the bricks.
I would go another route with that. If you believe in general that one of these kinds of people who have this money are going to turn over that kind of power to a quarterback family, a coach quarterback family, come and do that here.
He just turned it over to Aaron Rodgers.
Understood. Much easier to do it to one old guy who's been an MVP who looks like you and might act like you than to do it with Deion and you turning over the entire identity of your franchise over to this person. You're turning over your entire family legacy with this sports team is being handed over to somebody you can't control, don't know how he's going to talk, don't know when he's going to fight you, and then it's just going to be as comfortable as Saleh telling you no when you want to put Tyrod Taylor in the game. But I want to get to what Amin said here, where Amin said Belichick's doing just fine, and then for some reason did the 20-year-old fiancé thing. When I'm talking about his reputation as a coach, you cannot tell me it did not take a hit the moment he did not have a quarterback anymore, and we watched what it is that quarterback did, and then we watched the next cycle of employment in coaching leave him not being able to get a job because the Falcons, they preferred. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, Dan is right about this. I wrote an entire chapter about Belichick and Brady in my new book, StugottzBook.com, Stugotz's personal record book. Belichick was exposed the second Brady left him. I mean, you have to admit that.
First of all, shout out to the book. Make sure you get it.
Thank you.
Second of all, with regard to Brady, yes. When you compare him to Brady, yeah, like people are wondering, is it Belichick or is it Brady? Is it Belichick or is it Brady? And now people feel like, I don't even know if that's the correct answer, but people feel like it was Brady and not Belichick. Having said that, Dan, he's been sitting this year doing TV, doing stuff with the Mannings, and shitting on all of these teams left and right. He's going to get a job. He's back. He's not gone forever. He's not John Gruden. Excommunicated?
No, he's going to get a job, but he's not going to again make the mistake of thinking he's responsible for all the winning and he can make any quarterback go 11-5. He's not going to make that mistake again.
Wait a second. But if he goes to a place like Jacksonville and suddenly turns Trevor Lawrence into, a Hall of Fame quarterback, now the conversation with Brady and Belichick changes.
It switches. There you go.
You don't have Trevor Lawrence. You've got a 40-year-old quarterback and no quarterback for him.
I said if he went to Jacksonville.
I know, but we're talking about the Jets job and whether that's a good job or whether somebody would want that job.
Dan, he got the Jets job before and quit before he even did the press conference. He knows the Jets job is cursed.
Yes.
There's no saving the Jets. We're not saving the Jets. We're talking about Bill Belichick. We're talking about how he saves his reputation. And I like this, guys. Wait, if he goes to Chicago, does he have the same sort of flip?
Maybe. Yeah, with Caleb. But here's the place he should go. Because if he could flip this quarterback, he's the greatest coach ever. Carolina. How about that? Yeah.
Here's what I'm finding about Bill Belichick and whether or not he's engaged. Apparently, he's been shopping for engagement rings for his girlfriend of 24 years. I'm not sorry, 24 years old, not of 24 years. Hasn't proposed yet. There's a secret marriage trip planned.
There you go. Look, things are going great for Bill Belichick.
How secret is that marriage trip if it's planned?
If Izzy knows about it, I mean.
Well, Izzy's plugged in.
Via the U.S. Sun. I don't know what that is.
No, you can't trust that. Wait a minute.
What do you mean?
Wait a minute.
Who can you trust these days, Dan?
You can't trust the U.S. Sun.
EngagementRings.com.
It was the first thing on Google when I searched for it. Why can't I?
Yep.
You can't.
Top story.
That is not credible.
A lot of girth behind these coloring books.
That's the sound of Stugotz selling out our autographed coloring books. We are selling out as part of our 20-year celebration around here. We're introducing the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz's 20th anniversary jersey. It's a weird choice to enter the Christmas holidays selling a sleeveless garment, but here we are.
I mean, 20 years, I have been on fire. The last 20 years have put me in the Hall of Fame. Who would look worse in a tank top, me or you?
Okay, it's sleeveless garmentry that we're selling at lebatardaf.com. It took us 20 years to make it. It looks just as bad on us as you would imagine. Stugotz just muttered under his breath, kind of defeated, kind of jealous. He saw Dave Annable there on the screen and said, man, good-looking guy.
Am I lying?
No, you're not lying. He was ranked number 7 on People Magazine's list of sexiest men alive.
Wow.
So he
outside of top 5.
Technically, what are you saying?
OLI.
Outside of top 5, OLI.
Outside of the top 5.
Outside looking in.
What's the point of even being on the list? 7.
You're 7th, right?
Okay, Dave, thank you for joining us. What is the point of being on the list if you're just 7? Billy knows because he's often in the top 5 of all sexy lists.
You know, here's the deal. Actually, I was on page 7. You know, so I don't know if I really was in the top 10. It just happened like that got out. I might have started it. But, yeah, you know, it was really, I don't think I was in the top 10 at all.
For the people who do not know, I don't know if they associate you with Yellowstone, Brothers and Sisters, Lioness. When people want to come and talk to you, it's probably not about Yellowstone, right?
Well, they do. It's just to really bust on me, you know, like, oh, you died in Act 4 of the most popular show on the planet. And I would say thank you for reminding me. You know, I do have a Yellowstone sticker on my truck. I'm really holding on. You know, I'm really trying to grasp onto that as long as possible.
What did you think the show was going to be in its initial stages? And how crazy is Costner about these Westerns that he would like gamble his homes to make Western stuff outside of Yellowstone?
Yeah, you know, that's a whole wild other story. But, you know, I sort of knew going in that I was going to die. Right. You know, so obviously I read the script. What I didn't know is how fun. I mean, it's been out for 5 years, you know, I mean, catch up, you know, but, you know, I did know I was going to die. What I didn't know is like how much fun, like being a cowboy would be. I'm from New York. So like being on a horse in Montana and, you know, Utah and like with everybody, I was like, yo, I don't want to die at all. Like, this is way too fun. So, you know, we're shooting my death scene and I got all the fake blood and everything. I'm like, wait, no, this is makeup. You know, guys, like I'm going to live. This is fine. Please don't kill me. I started a whole Save Dave campaign. It was one member, me. You know, I'm still holding on. I was like, you know, any flashbacks? And Taylor's like, nah. I was like,
could be a Force ghost, maybe. Come back as a ghost, telling, you know, talking, hey.
Yeah. You know, I did pop back for one little scene in season 4 in the finale. And it was, you know, it was just so great. I mean, everybody there is, I mean, they're like the Beatles now, the cast. It's crazy. I did a stagecoach with them and, you know, they couldn't walk around at all. And, you know, I was trying to get recognized. I was like, hey, you know, once a done, you know, and they were all like, nah. Yeah. Lee, you know, first 7 minutes.
So you guys knew you had a hit, though, when? Like, when? I never understood how it is that show grew that quickly when you have to seek out your entertainment, and I was wondering what that show was doing, that its word of mouth arrived at hey, this is the most popular show in America.
Yeah, I think, you know, my take, which means nothing on this, is there's so many things to watch out there. And, you know, nowadays, I think it really is kind of those word of mouth shows, you know, things that are really, you know, catching on, water cooler. And then COVID. I think Yellowstone really blew up in COVID. I mean, everyone's home, you know, everyone plowed through Tiger King and just had, you know, something else to watch. And I think Yellowstone, you know, it's fantastic. And Taylor is, you know, the best in the business right now. So it's, you know, and they're on their final season. So yeah, I mean, it's a great show, you know, Cowboys, Costner, you know, it's awesome.
You're a Giants fan, a New York Giants fan. And
don't say that out loud.
And
don't say that out loud.
New York Mets fan as well.
That's an odd combination, by the way.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's usually Mets, Jets,
yes.
you know, and I chose the Giants are great. They were. I mean, we got 2 Super Bowls in there with Eli, but I mean, man, what happened? We're in a real rebuilding stage. And obviously the news just came out. They're benching Jones. 3rd string. What's your take on that? I mean, are we trying to lose? We're
Dave,
trying to get a pick?
Yes. Dave, let me help you out here as a fellow Giants fan. We are the best fan base in the world. You know why? Because every you and I are roughly the same age. Every decade of our lives, they've won a Super Bowl. They won one in the 80s. They won one in the 90s. They won one in the 2000s, one in the 2010s. We still got 6 more years. The 2020, right?
Guys are really roughing it.
Dude, I'm telling you, as long as they win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years, we're fine. We've got one every decade, and then we coast the rest of the time.
I buy that. Who's it going to be? Who's our QB? Who's going to lead us to the promised land? Can we get Eli back?
How do you end up feeling about that when it happens to you a couple of days ago? Because your allegiances to football are greater than they are to the other sports, are they not?
I mean, football and baseball. I'm a huge Mets fan, and we had quite a ride this year. And it was fun. We came up short, but man, we had some moxie. We had some real fight in us, which was exciting. We needed it. It's been a long time since we could cheer for those guys. So, it's easier to turn the Giants off nowadays. Watch the red zone. Catch up on my fantasy because I'm like they're real bad.
And so you get the Daniel Jones news and you're hopeless about the future? Or you're like, I'm done with him. I don't think he can play anymore.
I'm guessing he's excited about it. No more Daniel Jones.
Well, yeah, it was tough because I was kind of a believer and I was like, oh, give this guy a shot, but I feel like we've seen enough. He's had enough real estate and maybe it's going to be a change of scenery for him or something because I'm always cheering for guys, but it ain't it. It really, I think it is time to move on. We paid him over Barkley.
Yeah.
It's not like he's crushing it in our division or anything.
Dave,
are these real tears?
I guess I was going to ask, what does it feel like to watch Saquon Barkley do what he's doing for the Eagles?
Well, he's on all 3 of my fantasy teams, so I don't really mind it, But
you hedge your feelings. I like that. Yeah.
I'm like, this guy, he needed a team. He needed a young team, a great line, but it's tough to watch. But again, I'd rather see him, sort of go off and succeed than just be on a bad team the whole time.
Dave, like myself, you seem to be somebody who has embraced your graying hair, right? Silvering hair, if you will. Mine, if it grew out, would look pretty much very similar to yours.
No,
I get compliments on my hair color more than anything else. Why is it that everybody else has missed out and gray has been the way to go this whole time?
That's a great question. I mean, it makes me look like somewhat intelligent, like I could read or something, and I'm really riding this. Thank you. No, it's really, really went in fast forward once I married a Cuban. And now, it's really all I got, to be honest. It's my only calling card. So I got to ride this. It's a strong look.
Did you learn any Spanish marrying a Cuban?
Un poquito. It was in our
Attaboy.
it was in our wedding vows, and I really, if she were here, she would say I need to learn some more. But it's great because we go to her house in Moreno Valley, and there's every barbecue is 150 Cubans. There's 2 other white guys, that are speaking English, and everybody else is just speaking Spanish. And it's, this really just fun, beautiful family. And, it's great. I should learn it.
Do they call you gringo? Gringo.
Yeah, that's what that means. No, they don't talk to me, actually. That's
Ever?
Okay, yeah, they're talking Spanish. Yeah.
Every time I'm there, I'm meeting a new family member that my wife's, I'm like, who's that? She's like,
that is the way that goes with Hispanic families. Did you get the Yellowstone gig because you just look like a cowboy? You don't identify as a cowboy. You're not the cowboy type, but you do. If I'm just looking at you and you walk into a room, I'm like, that guy, I can make that person a cowboy.
He identifies as a giant then.
Yeah. A sad giant fan. No, it was funny because I obviously I'm from New York and Taylor happened to be my wife's old acting coach. And I was running a scene with her for a show I was on at the time, and she had this really like sort of confused, sad look on her face. She's like, "Have you ever tried coaching?" And I was like, "Ooh." It sounded personal, but she introduced me to Taylor, and we had started coaching together on the show. And basically, when Yellowstone came around, I saw that he wrote it and it was Costner, and then I was supposed to be like the best cowboy, and I was like, "Oh shit, like I got to pass on this." Like, I've been on a horse twice in my life, and out of nowhere, because I hadn't spoken to him in years, he calls my wife and he says, "Why did your man just pass on the audition for Yellowstone? It's like Kevin Costner, apparently." And he starts giving her all this crap, and she's like, "Dave, we gotta put you on tape for Yellowstone like today." I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And and then I got it, and Taylor called, and I was like, "Sir, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Like, I don't know how to ride a horse, properly." And he's like, "We'll get you on a horse tomorrow." And then from that day on, for like literally 2 months, I was on a horse every day, and we were in cowboy camp in the mountains of Utah and Montana, and it was like this incredible experience that I had that I, forever just will cherish.
It's a lot of work to get killed in 3 episodes. Seriously. I just hire someone that can ride a horse, waste the money.
Billy, I was like, how bad was he at riding a horse? And they're like, we got to kill his character, man.
Killed him yeah, exactly. Day one, they're like, no, he's dead. We're going to change this all up. No, we're going to shoot him in the chest.
What has been the experience on Lioness? It's a weird time in Hollywood. The season 2 is out now on Paramount Plus. What has been the experience being involved with the new hit series Lioness?
It's great. If I'm going to be honest with you, it's Taylor right now is sort of top in the business in television, and he's got this incredible knack for writing dialogue and characters and relationships, and it's espionage. It's Zoe Saldana, Morgan Freeman, Nicole Kidman, and Michael Kelly, and I get to play Zoe's husband. Doesn't suck. So, that's it's really been a great ride. And I feel like this is, again, one of those sort of water cooler shows that is starting to spread. And I think people are really enjoying it. And go for the ride here. Let's see what happens.
Is it easier to ride a lion?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
There was a lot of jokes there, but He
chose the bad one.
He chose the one of all the good ones that were there. He rejected all of them and decided to go with that one.
You ain't lying.
Freight.
Oh, there you go.
No. Do not encourage him.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it got me. I'll be honest with you.
Stugotz, I feel like Dave isn't doing a good job of selling this to you. The show's called Lioness, but it's called Special Ops, Lioness.
That's all it takes to hook
Lots
me
of
in.
machine
Yes.
guns here. Lots of spies.
That's all you need, right? In order to get him interested in any of this stuff.
So
you
no
just
lions.
Need some special ops. I don't think there are lions. No, maybe.
He's so disappointed.
He seems upset about that. Can you take us through what your Mets experience was this year? Was it like, obviously it was better than a lot of years, but it still ends in heartbreak.
Yeah, I think at one point, we were 17 and a half games back, in June or something like that. And, to be that far back and then sort of, the end of the season, the Braves that Monday, they're the only 2 teams playing and trying to get their way in. It was so exciting. I was literally in school pickup and I was late. I'm sorry, kid. When she sees this, I was late, because I was watching the game. I'm screaming, I'm texting, and then, the Braves came back, and then blah, blah, blah. The Mets won. And, it was great because I got my wife was on board for the whole playoff run, my kids, and we're sitting around watching the Mets. And, this team, didn't quit. They really didn't quit. And, they had so much grit and fight, and it was exciting to get behind them. It's been a while. So it was, I think we got great prospects for next year. Do we get Soto? I don't know. Who's getting Soto?
Fans love to identify with grit. Fans love when
we love grit.
They love so
love
much
a gritty team.
when their teams are gritty. You also love this, Stugotz. Listen to this description. Lioness is about a CIA special ops team led by former military specialists willing to make the ultimate sacrifice of their lives for their country. Annable plays Dr. Neil McNamara, a pediatric oncology surgeon and husband to Joe.
A doctor.
Amazing.
It's the hair.
Yeah. It is the hair.
It is. It's exceptional hair. You also look a bit like Ryan Reynolds if he had more gray hair. Like I look.
Yeah, if you were older. Yeah. And like just softer, you know?
He's got a Clooney vibe to him, does he not?
Wow, those
I know it when I see it.
We're really fawning all over you right now. Ryan Reynolds and Clooney. This is good company. You should have finished higher than 7th in 2007 on People Magazine.
I should have been on page 5.
Do you know the 6 guys in front of you? Do you know them off the top of your head?
No, I want to get to know them. I want to get in that studio. I mean, I got my fan club.
Dave, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate the time. Again, season 2 out now on Paramount Plus. Lioness is the name of the show. Enjoyed the time, sir.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for having me, guys. And big fan. So keep it going.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you.
We're going to get to an Izzy Gutierrez back in my gay in a second.
What a wonderful man, huh?
Yes.
I
love him.
Yes, we all fell in love there, just staring into the lagoons that he has for eyes.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, Billy, because I've heard you guys talking about this for a couple of days, and I don't know the story. The Paul Skenes card offer, the Pirates fireballer, who's the Rookie of the Year, and nobody can hit him, and he's got a tremendous mustache. What is the card offer? It's a baseball card offer?
So Topps has done this thing where, like, when a rookie makes their debut, they have a little rookie debut, MLB debut patch, right? And then they take that patch off of the jersey, and then they put it in a card, and then they autograph the card. Now, it's a one of one, so it's a rare situation. Every rookie presumably gets one of these made. Paul Skenes, as you guys are well aware, is a rookie sensation from LSU, plays for the Pirates, Pittsburgh, stays in all the nicest Hampton Inns, and he won Rookie of the Year 2 days ago. Now, the Pirates seemingly want this card back, but they don't know where the card is. It gets put out in a pack, or if you go into the card truthers, you find out that some of the best cards get leaked to some of the more famous collectors. But that's just what the truthers out there are saying about the card, the underbelly of the card world says that maybe there's some favoritism there, and they can kind of actually control where those things go, and it's not just old Billy Gill opens up a box at Topps and gets the Paul Skenes card. Not exactly how it seems to work.
That's how you talk in the underbelly.
Anyway,
I love that character.
Anyways,
underbelly baseball card. the underbelly is a good character.
Listen to me. I know we indulge in some tomfoolery here, some shenanigans and the likes, but I don't want any part with the dark world of the card collectors. So do not enlist me in this battle, my friend. I want no part of being in wars with the underworld of the card collection game. Anyways,
it seems like you inserted yourself there.
No,
I mean,
no.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
Anywho, so here's the thing: the card is out there, and the Pirates want said card, and they've made insane offers to the person who finds the card and then gives them this card. So they've offered 2 Pirates season tickets behind home plate for the next 30 years. Is one of the things on there. A softball game for 30 at PNC Park, plus coaching from Pirates alumni. A spring training experience like no other. Private tour of the Pirates spring training facility, 2 Paul Skenes autographed jerseys, meet and greet with Paul Skenes, batting practice, warm up with the team, and other unique experiences. And then Livy, Paul's girlfriend, has said you will also be sitting in a suite with me for a game if you give us this card. So the value of this card now, just in these things that they're giving you, is millions of dollars. Like 30 seasons of season tickets behind home plate, should you flip them. I don't know if you can. I'm assuming you can, even though they probably wouldn't want you to. You can get millions of dollars over 30 years for this card.
It is the Pirates, though.
It is, but 30 years behind home plate is going to be expensive. And when you mention reselling them, didn't Joey Porter Jr.'s family sell his will call tickets for $400 and just tailgate? And they were quoted as saying, "We've seen him play. We know what that kid can do. We don't need to watch that again." There's a lot of money in what it is that you're talking about behind home plate, even if it is the Pirates. But what is this card actually worth? Because obviously, this is based on the idea that it's not just that the card is valuable and exclusive, because there's only one. It's also based on the idea that this guy is going to be an all-time baseball player. that this card is going to be one of one for a player that is going to dominate baseball if he does not get injured.
Well, so if you get the card, it would greatly benefit you to live in the Pittsburgh area and be a Pirates fan, right? Because if someone in, I don't know, California gets this card, 30 years of Pittsburgh Pirates season tickets are pretty worthless.
A punishment more than a reward.
Well, even if Paul Skenes, by the way, pans out, you will be married to the Pirates longer than Paul Skenes will be. Like, you will be going to Pirates games much longer than Paul Skenes' career, by far. 2 or 3 times his career, possibly.
I texted David about this. He says if Skenes is a Hall of Famer, it's a bargain. If he blows out and fizzles out, another story.
Well, tell me who the guys are. When you think of these names, Brian Taylor, Kerry Wood, people who were going to be Paul Skenes, but the human arm isn't meant to continue throwing baseballs at that rate of speed.
Mark Pryor. Cubs had 2 of them.
Yeah, the Cubs had 2 guys like this that debuted this way, where you thought they're going to be winning 20 games a season for 10 seasons.
Strasburg to an extent, right? He had a good career. He won a World Series, but he didn't live up to greatest pitcher ever hype just because of injuries.
He was the World Series MVP, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean,
I think.
Yeah, but he still fell. I mean, it's like the argument is like Andrew Luck. Like, Andrew Luck, if you look at what he did, was kind of a disappointment in the NFL compared to what you thought he would be. And it was just because of injuries derailing his career.
I would say Matt Harvey is another one.
It's a great one.
Fake ace.
When you're mentioning Strasburg, though, I don't think we're allowed to say Strasburg's career was a success only because the expectations were in this place where this is going to be an all-time dominant person, not a major leaguer for 7 years who is serviceable, but somebody who is going to be unhittable in the sport for 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, but like when you win a World Series, I feel like that kind of mitigates a lot of the disappointment, especially for a franchise like the Nationals. They don't have anything.
And you crush it during that postseason.
Absolutely,
yes.
I think in his debut, Bobby Q was calling the game and said he was going to be a Hall of Famer in his first game.
Strasburg was supposed to be one of the best pitchers ever. Whether you win a title or not and win a World Series MVP or not, because of where the expectations were, that career can be considered nothing but a disappointment. If Skenes has Strasburg's career even now, it will be considered a disappointment, even if it wins a World Series title in Pittsburgh.
He did play 12 seasons. He was 113-62 with a 3.24 ERA, but I agree with you. Like, you're right. The expectations were set at such a ridiculous spot.
This is not an indictment of Strasburg's career. It's an indictment of the expectations for Strasburg and an underestimation of what it is that the ravages of throwing a baseball that hard does to the human body.
It's going to be interesting to see with Skenes, too, because we've entered this age of starting pitchers not really throwing that deep into games. So when you go and end up looking at his stats, Stugotz, like, he's not going to have, no matter how long he pitches, he's probably not going to have that many wins.
No, but he'll throw 100 pitches and go 6 or 7 innings. Yeah, for now, right? And he's probably going to get hurt because they all get hurt. Very few of them go. In fact, he hasn't had the Tommy John that he needs to have yet, right? Because they all have to have Tommy John so they can come back as the second version of themselves.
The perfect
because
example.
Again, it's not a tenable human act to continue to throw a baseball that hard.
Going back to Strasburg, so his career was 13 years, but it was really only 10, right? Like, all of his production was in those first 10 years, and then 2020 to 2022 was just constant injury, high ERAs. He just wasn't playing very much. He never really got to be himself again.
That list of things who is it that wants it that badly?
I love the idea of someone being like, well, you do get a softball game with all your friends, so now I really want in on this. The 30 years of season tickets, fine. But I get to play a softball game with all my friends.
Well, it's on their field. I think for me, it's like a tour of the spring training facility.
Ty Wigginton's going to be my coach.
Ooh.
Dude.
But I feel like anyone can get a tour of the spring training facility.
Not for free.
This is not what you keep the card. Hold on to the card. Force somebody's hand. That's what you do. Leverage.
I'm at least putting it on. Well, I guess if you put it on eBay, you have to actually go through with it. I want to see what the eBay market is.
You think you're going to get something better than 30 years value of season tickets?
You can start a bid on eBay, and then just, if you're not happy with what you're getting, just end it.
The problem is, yes, you can. But the problem, Billy, is 30 years of season tickets to the Pirates.
It's a commitment, man. 30 years. I had one season of full season tickets because I was tricked into thinking that's the only way I could go to the All-Star game.
Yeah, what a scam.
Man.
They got you?
They got me too.
Games.
I think Billy and I both had season tickets
I had
that year.
81 that year. It was
You didn't go halvesies with someone?
No. So I did. I split it with my family. We had 5 season tickets for 81 games. and we were like the first section where the price was like whoop, boop, and just, like dropped, and I was like, okay, I can do this, brother. I was on there in the secondary market, wheeling and dealing. I felt alive that season.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I was gonna say it's probably disappointing because now you're realizing it's all a fire sale when you're on there.
No, I was wheeling and dealing. I was on there all day long. I was on there setting the prices, raising it, lowering it. Then I'd go out weeks ahead and be like, ooh, the Cubs are coming to town. By the way, I don't like the Cubs. I don't like Joe Madden. Thank goodness for them winning the World Series the year before because, ooh, that made me.
Oh, yeah.
That 3-game series coming to town, and it was a weekend series. Oh, my gosh. Let me tell you something. Weekend prices, Mets prices, Cubs prices, another level. I only found out like a month left in the season that I had all these vouchers that I could use in addition to my tickets. Had I known that, I could have made a pretty penny. Speaking of the Pirates, on the Pirates season, on the Pirates series, that second week.
You made your money back for the year or for the series?
I damn near broke even, wheeling and dealing, and I went to like 20-plus games.
Wow. You go to the All-Star game?
I felt alive. Oh, I went to the All-Star game. Hell yeah, I went to the All-Star game.
It'd be funny if he didn't.
That's what I did. Yeah. Oh, if I didn't go to the All-Star game. That's what I did it for. That was the last of the good All-Star games. Not the game itself, even though it went to extra innings. That was the last of the good home run derbies, and I stand by that comment. Aaron Judge, Marlins Park. That was a great home run derby.
Billy, I have rarely seen you, felt you, heard you more alive than when you make the word brother rhyme with udder, like a cow's udder, and you make it brudder. Like you were
I may
really,
have like a verbal tick or something.
You were
Maybe
feeling
making fun of a
pretty good.
disability.
No, you were
I'm also
feeling-
sick under the weather.
No, you are sick, but you were summoning the
Sick as fuck.
confidence of Hulk Hogan there. I feel like that if I arrived at the gates of hell and I'm like, oh no, this is terrible. And then they swung open and they're like, 30 years of Pirates tickets. You have to go to all of the games.
With Art Briles.
I'm like, I don't know if I could handle 30 years of Pirates
Kill me
baseball.
again.
After one of wheeling and dealing, I like talked to my family. I go, this was fun. I'm glad we had this moment. I cannot do this for another season. It's too much. I was at the hospital at the ER one day trying to figure out. I didn't want the tickets to go unused. So if I couldn't sell them, then I'm offering them to people because I didn't want them to go unused. It felt like a waste of money. So I'm like in the ER like, hey, anyone want to go to the Marlins game today? Can't make it. Who wants to take these tickets?
Dude, I'm going to tell you, when I used to work for the Atlanta Hawks, we would get tickets, like in the lower bowl, good-ass seats, and I couldn't give them away. I was like, it's like, hey, the Mavericks are coming to town. Dirk Nowitzki, they're one of the best teams in the league. Nope. The only tickets that were worth anything were Lakers, Shaq and Kobe, Sixers, Allen Iverson, Knicks, because it's Atlanta and they're a bunch of New York people.
There has never been any sort of atmosphere in Phillips Arena ever.
Did you guys see, by the way, how Stugotz sprung to life when he could just shout into the microphones, you got to force somebody's hand, leverage.
Yeah. Oh, man, I love that. I thought we were going to follow that thread, to be honest.
They're not offering enough. I mean, they're not. It's one of one. This is not a one-of-one experience they're offering. I mean, 17,000 fans have Pirate season tickets. That's a lot. That seems like it's too many. 5,000 fans have Pirate season tickets.
30 years of season tickets behind home plate, and we're laughing at it? This is a great deal. What are you guys talking about?
There was a collectible shop that offered someone $250,000 for the card if they bring it in.
I think that's less. That's less than 30 years of tickets, you guys.
30 years of Pirates tickets.
It's like behind home plate.
What if you're a Pirates fan?
I read that this is like in the millions of value.
It is in the millions of value. Billy just got done saying it's in the millions of value, and I do think that I speak for the general entitlement of this show as a sports consuming commodity, that we would arrive at your 30 years of tickets and be like, don't think I want them. Don't think, do I have to go to all the Pirates games? Because I think most people listening to this would say that they don't want to go to all the Pirates games. That a lot of those tickets are going to be resold to others because they just don't want to watch Pirates baseball.
And you heard Billy's stress. Just selling the tickets is stressful.
Yeah.
So you have to wait every year to sell them. It's not worth it.
You're taking a loss. You're taking a loss on this. You're never going to get value. You're never going to get face value. Like right behind home plate, let's say they sell those tickets for like $5,000 a game or something. You're obviously never going to get $5,000. Also, here's another thing, and here's kind of what I was running into. It's not good for your health to go to 81 baseball games a year. Like, it's just, and it's not because it's not like a shot at the team or the product or whatever. Like, imagine 81 days of stadium food, and then you're like a 10-game homestand, and it's like 10 straight days I'm going, and it's like, am I eating a hot dog? Am I eating nachos today? Like, what am I eating? What am I drinking? Like,
I'm in heaven right now.
Human body was not made to do this.
Guys, you're forgetting about the softball game with your friends, coached by Tony Womack and Ty Wigington.
That changes things.
I will side with Jeremy on this. Seats behind home plate in a major league ballpark are wonderful, magical things to have. But if you gave me the equivalent value and said to me, where would you like to spend this money? The very last thing on that list would be at Pirate games for me. I'm saying if you give me the equivalent value, if you just tell me, because the card's worth this much, what they're telling you is if it's 30 years of tickets behind home plate, they're telling you that that's what the card is going to be worth.
What if it's 30 years, 2 tickets behind home plate, but it's the Rays?
Well, you don't know where you're going to be.
Now I've arrived at the gates of heaven. And I can watch 30 years of Rays baseball.
All muted, though.
If you don't find this card and you want to
angels singing,
if you don't find this card and you don't get 30 years of season tickets and you still want to go to a game, you know what you got to do? You download the Game Time app. You download the Game Time app. You use code Dan, create an account. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. I did it the other day. I bought my wife concert tickets for the holidays. By far the lowest price of all of them. Game Time. You got to go now. Jeremy, what time is it?
Game time?
Chris, can you please dust off the back in my gay imaging? We have not done this in a long time here.
Wow.
We're about to do back in my gay with Izzy Gutierrez.
And now it is time to take a trip down memory lane.
Sounds familiar.
Here's your guide,
Izzy Gutierrez
with Back in My
Gay.
Insults! Or are they even insults? These days, guys who want to make a gay joke, and let's be real, it's always guys, they usually accidentally say something that could be seen as a euphemism for a gay act, and then make sure everyone recognizes said euphemism, which encourages people listening to stop and think about gay stuff for a second. Is that an insult? Back in my gay, it was easy to tell when I should be hurt. A professional athlete of note, out of pure hatred or maybe pure obliviousness, would bark out the hard F slur, get fined accordingly, and we'd all know who needs to take a visit to the HR department the next day. These days, LaMelo Ball is getting fined $100,000, the same amount Joel Embiid was fined for shoving a journalist in the locker room. And for what? A terrible joke? Ball, the last name of someone who probably suffered a lifetime of horrible gay jokes, told a reporter on live television the reason they were successful defending Giannis Antetokounmpo was because, quote, we loaded up, no homo. Let's dissect that for a moment, shall we? Mere minutes after getting a 1-point home win against a 2-time MVP, Ball decided in a millisecond to introduce a sexual thought, while simultaneously announcing his own sexuality, just in case viewers at the moment thought to themselves, wait, is he still talking about basketball? I mean, no homo is basically just the that's what she said joke with a touch of phobia. Or maybe we're all looking at it backward, and no homo is actually a hetero man's coming out. Either way, it's also pretty dated. More recently, pause has become the popular line to drop after any gay-sounding reference. I've always considered this one odd, too. It's effectively giving listeners license, in a short amount of time, to stop and think of homosexual acts. Okay, but an insult? Certainly not to me. Then there's the AO community, which is effectively pause, but with a more defensive posture.
Hey, yo!
And this is certainly no offense to our pal Tony, and apparently Amin, too. Regular AOers. But this show already had a baby! Hell yeah. And more recently, a hubba hubba, to acknowledge accidental sex references. The difference between those and AO is the latter comes only after gay-sounding references and with the announcement, not in my backyard. Pause. Here's the thing. I don't even hate these jokes, but let's just acknowledge these lines for what they are. In the case of Ball, it was a lame joke with too harsh of a penalty. Other, more advanced attempts at comedy really haven't been that funny. I'd rather bring back gay euphemisms like light in the loafers or a friend of Dorothy.
What?
Look it up. Than pretend to laugh or feign offense. What I'm more offended by is people who don't know when a joke is dead. Perhaps the goal should be to load up on some new jokes. I'm not even going to say it. I'm Izzy Gutierrez, and that's how it was back in my day.
All right, so I have a couple of questions for you.
I knew you would.
Nicely
Follow-ups?
done. Yeah, because he said too harsh, the penalty, $100,000 fine, which is the same that Embiid got for pushing a reporter. You thought the fine was too harsh.
I did, and I also thought, well, by comparison, right? But Amin actually told me more information when I walked in this morning.
So on the episode of Basketball Illuminati that comes out today, we did a deep dive on the history of fines with no homo in the NBA. So the last player fined for this was Cam Thomas. That was February of 2023. He got fined $40,000 for it. Before him, Nikola Jokic in November of 2018, $25,000. But before him, Roy Hibbert.
This was kind of funny.
Roy Hibbert, 2013, $75,000. Why the big difference between Roy Hibbert, $75,000 in 2013, and 5 years later, Nikola Jokic down to $25,000? Roy Hibbert was fined by David Stern.
How about the difference between Joakim Noah and Kobe and how they were fined for using a slur?
I mean, that's like I was mentioning in the thing. It's just the more obvious one. It's got more hatred behind it. It's not trying to drop a joke and have people laugh. And those are the more obvious, like, hey, get that out of your vocabulary.
Kobe got fined $100,000, 2011 for that.
Right, and that was, I thought, worthy. This, I don't think, is the same thing. I think it's bad comedy.
I do miss, I wish it weren't pejorative, just the phrase lighten the loafers. It just is.
I was thinking the same thing.
Also misleading, by the way.
But wait, Izzy, a quick question. What did you mean by friend of Dorothy? Because...
Isn't that you?
Lighten the loafers is misleading how?
I mean, do you need me to show you?
That's the joke he was making. That's the joke the Tin Man was making. You didn't get it until Izzy repeated it.
Because Izzy's funny and Jeremy isn't. So when Jeremy says something, I automatically...
You didn't laugh. He made the joke dressed as the Tin Man.
I know.
He's in silver. He made the same joke. You refused to laugh at it, and then you laughed uproariously when Izzy did it.
This is the uphill battle that Jeremy's had to fight all this time.
And Jay Leno.
That's why I went on strike.
You think Jeremy has had the uphill battle?
Yes, he has.
Not Izzy.
No.
Jeremy.
We welcome Izzy. We laugh at Izzy's jokes. Him? No.
Look, man, I did theater. I got the same jokes Izzy got.